Resh Mem Dalet Rakia Ben Mayim Lamayim. So now let's start looking at this. It says the concept of Torah, Biyom HaSheni the Ma'aseh Bereshis, on the second day of creation. Yehi Rakia B'soch HaMayim, let there be a firmament between the water. So the Pirusha Yehi Karov Mapsik Be'emsa, so Krum. Sorry, let me get a little bit more light on this. Not quite as. Okay, there we go. The Pirusha Yehi Krum Mapsik Be'emsa HaYomim. So that there should be some kind of a cross between the mayim, the mayim, which he says, what is the mayim? The ore, shebebenimius parts of Eric Anpin, which is in the side of Eric Anpin. The Hainu b'makom ha-tibor shel Eric Anpin. So let's focus on the place of the tibor of Eric Anpin. There is light inside of Eric Anpin. V'amar b'pasuk od v'yehi mavdil. And then the pasuk says, and let there be a separation bein mayim l'mayim, between the two different kinds of mayim, which he said before mayim means light. Upirusho shachakrum yehi mapsik umavdil bein mayim el yonim. So it should separate between the upper water, which is another word for the inner water, asher l'mala mechatibor, which is above the tibor. Okay, let's use his metaphor. He says it's above the tibor. The bein hamayim atachtonim b'shechah lamata b'makom hatibor, so it's below the tibor. So the tibor, he says, is like a separation of avoir. That what does he mean exactly? Kitam b'davarhu lahavdil bein the kodesh bein kodesh gadashim. So here's another metaphor. He said gedei lahavdil bein bechinas kodesh shalamata b'chatibor the bein bechinas kodesh kodesh gadashim shalamala b'chatibor. So this is another concept. I guess it's if you're in the base of Mikdash and you were walking upwards towards the Kodesh Kodashim, you would be going upwards. So it's just the same. This is the same metaphor. Ke'inyan shen amber v'hivdila haparochas lachem bein the Kodesh bein Kodesh Kodashim. So it's some kind of a parochas. V'inyan, who the Inyan is like this: she'ikar parts of Eric Anpin shehu b'bechinas Kodesh Kodashim. He said, so he said that area, which is the highest possible area, is going to be from the Tibur Lamala. So that's where you find the 9. Which is not part of the Adam, which Ella. So we hear this in other places. I don't know if they said that about Yisod, but they always said that about Netzach and Hod. Mechutz the bechinas gufa adam. So they're outside. In other words, I guess the yisod is also. Now it's really attached on the very bottom, so it's really outside too. The bechinas gufa mavara od explains further. Shenimsa shakrum huba bechinas parochas or masach hamavdil hamavdil. So this is the concept. The parochas is the concept of some kind of a screen. Atika the zeira. So bein Eric Anpin, that's what it is. Hanikra atika. The bein zer anpin ha'omed lamata b'makom hatibor, which is down below. Now, he starts at the tibor, the Eric Anpin shul b'bechinas kodesh. So it's like a child. It's like that same thing he said he had Bereshis and Bara yesterday. And that was the contrast. By Inyan, who the Inyan is like this: ki zer anpin enu yochel l'kabel or hagodol. He can't get the light shalamal tibor, the Eric Anpin. He can't really reach that or makabel it. Shehu b'bechinas Kodesh Kodashim, which is the Kodesh Kodashim. V'lechein na'asach b'krum v'masach hamavdech b'makom b'tibor the Eric Anpin. So therefore, there's got to be a separation. And so therefore, sheha'or shalamata masach, that light on the top, hu b'bechinas Kodesh b'vad. It's just he said what shalamat is only called Kodesh. And that's how he can get it, because he gets the light, because here now we're getting a real view of how the light could be transferred, but it has to have, right here at this point, masach. V'amar odis isparash. The mekevesh and nifras hakrum. So now that you have the masach there, b'makom tibur the Eric Anpin, nifrash v'nivdal zer anpin Eric Anpin. So that makes a clear separation between the two. And it doesn't wind up becoming one with Eric Anpin. Lo isparash mamash. Amnamim calls that. So what you say like this: even with all this, we'll be saying, Davog Zer Anpin, Be'erik Anpin, he is in fact clinging to Erik Anpin. Ki Zer Anpin, Malvish, as Erik Anpin, Machatibu Lamata, Umizdaveg Bo. So he says there is a Devekus. So what's Pshat? But the Devekus must have this screen in between. The Zer Anpin, Lo Nivdach of Mamish, Min Erik Anpin, he really, Mamish is not separated from Erik Anpin. For Ha'inyan, who the Inyan is like this. If you didn't have this screen, he wouldn't be separated from him. He would be just one with Erik Anpin. So he'd be like Abba Ve'ima. Now, how does that go? Erik Anpin, the Gamri, who are completely and totally a part of Erik Anpin. Now, I'm not sure that I heard that I understand how that, why that would be like that. But he's saying that there's no masach in the area of Abba Be'ima. So therefore, they would be automatically included in Erik Anpin. I'm thinking that it would mean that they would be subsumed by Erik Anpin and disappear. I thought that was what he's trying to say. But he said, but Abba in Iman, the Jenichlalin Be'erik Anpin the Gamre, completely absorbed in him. The Fisha Abba Ve'ima Omdil the Mala B'Makom Amasa, because they're up above the Masa. Shabatiba the Erik Anpin. B'nei Kach, and because of the fact that they're up above, Nechshavim Abba, he used the word Nechshav, and they're considered to be Abba Ve'ima B'Bechidim parts of Echad in Erik Anpin. Now, in some way, obviously they're not. But he's saying that they're considered to be like one with Erik Anpin. So that's maybe something you need to put in the back of your mind about thinking about how that works. But I know something about it, because they're connected to the Maslos. And the Maslos are the Maslos, and they're another parts of. But it's all connected. That's what he's saying. Something like that. So here you have a clear separation, though. And the reason why is what we said before. So Zer Anpin could be revealed by Gilu Gomor, that in other words, he becomes more physical as after that. And even though Abba Ve'ima Eloyan are such a tremendously high level, and they are attached to Zer Anpin, this is Erik Anpin, sorry. Zer Anpin is going to be separate. He's going to be revealed more. Ki gilui b'chinas Zer Anpin, hu b'chinas gilui shemo yizbarach. So that phrase here, that when we say that, what are we actually seeing? Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now he goes to another set of ideas. He says, Puma mamalel ravravin. So this is a mouth that speaks greatnesses. So pa shall Erik Anpin nikra pa medaber gedolos. So meaning what? Colossian a pasuk like this pasuk of Daniel, upum mamalo ravravan. So that's the pasuk over there. So what's pshat? So when diburi, it doesn't say diburi, but it says the dibur Erik Anpin. Erik Anpin speaks, and the letters that come out, heim osios gedolos, they're big letters. Erik Anpin, hu bebechinas geus v'gadlus. He's pride and greatness. Like the American flag, or some kind of concept of pride there. So hu bebechinas geus v'gadlus, not lahavdil, the American flag. V'kol bechinoso b'shel Erik Anpin heim besod gedolos. So everything, all of his aspects are great, or greatnesses. V'hinach b'peh shel Erik Anpin. Let's look at his mouth now. Me'irin chamesha chasadim. There you see, now we're just here in the mouth of Erik Anpin. It's a place extremely hidden. V'ha'inyan, who the Inyan is like this, you find five chasadim there. Ki muach hadas shel Erik Anpin, because he says the muach hadas of Erik Anpin, yesh bo chasadim the gevuros, it has within it chasadim and the gevuros. That's in his mouth. So he says, ki muach hadas shel Erik Anpin, yesh bo chasadim the gevuros, v'hadas hazeh, Das Hazera Beganus and Meir Bepan shel Erik Anpin. So with the Das of Erik Anpin, he said is hidden in his mouth. Now he didn't say that exactly. He said Vadas Hazera Ganus is hidden, Umeir Bepan, and shines into the mouth. Shel Erik Anpin. It's not the same thing as saying that exactly saying that the Das itself is in. I'm really trying to locate it of Erik Anpin where it is. He said, but it shines there. V'hagam sheyesh lo moach, excuse me, v'hagam, so whereas sheyesh al moach krum hasoisiv v'makiv as a moach, so we say that there is a krum around the moach, which closes up and surrounds the moach. So I'm assuming he's talking about das. V'hu b'chinas masa kamavdo bein harosh the goof, and this is the aspect of the division that takes place between the head and the body. Im kol zeb, with all of this, meirim elo hachamisha chasadim shechot das derek hakrum lochutz. So even though that the das is covered up in some way, I wouldn't mind reading that again. So he said, going back, v'hine sheyesh al hamoach, I'm assuming you mean das, krum hasoisiv v'makev es hamoach. So it's surrounded by a krum. V'hu b'chinas masa, and it's another masa concept. Hamavda bein rosh the goof. So in other words, this das is a very powerful light. Im kol zecha meirim eilach hamisha chasana, but they have to go through this krum. But it shines through the krum shaladas derek ha krum l'chutz, and through that krum it goes out. V'amar od antik ki eilach hamisha chasadim nitku b'makomam be'erik anpin, so they become uprooted from that place in erik anpin. I guess they leave. He said nitku, I think, means uprooted. Anpin v'nishtalshu l'chalamata, and wind up going downwards. They roll downwards. V'is'adach b'kisrim z'irim, and they become crowns with these small. They crown these small crowns. Mispasha v'nis'atru b'sfiru shel sheish kitzvos, and they wind up going down and mispasha through that krum that we said is in the mouth of erik anpin into the 6 kitzvos of zer anpin. Hanikroim kisrim z'irim, and so the vok of zer anpin are called by the name keser. So, but keser also means the beginning of them, like the beginning. So this is how the mouth of erik anpin, which is way above the tibor, right? So it's way above the tibor. But when the words come out through the krum that he's saying, it ultimately, with the 5, I guess the dibor produces the 5 chasadim. And they wind up going into the 5 kitzvos of zer anpin, the basic 5 kitzvos. And then all of them pull into Yesod. With 5 different types of water. What does that mean? 5 different kinds of waters, which is the concept of mayim, is a gematria 90. And this current b'parshas Yehibra Kia, Shebiyom Hasheni the Maisa Bereshis, on the 2nd day of creation. So we see that pasuk over there. So he says, Ve'edo hachamisha chasada, now these 5 chasada, near mazeh b'chamesh pesukim de loholon. Now he's going to say that there's a way that you type this on to 5 pesukim that we're seeing over here. So he's a chabasher b'kulam kasev tevis chayim, because all of them have the word chayim in them. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to read it again because it seems like he's switched gears a little bit. I was following along very nicely when we're in the mouth and we're spreading the 5 into zer anpin. So then, let's go to where it said, B'chamisha zini mayim. So it pours out, huh?
Yes.
Okay. So he says there are 5 different kinds of water. Shehem sol chamesha mini mayim, b'sol chamesh pamim mayim. 5 times water. So aniskarim b'parshas Yehi Rakia, which comes from that, this is what we're working on, the Yehi Rakia should be Yom Sheni, the Maisa Bereshis that we say on that 2nd day. About the 2nd day. So here we're talking about 5 different kinds of water. So I was trying to go with this 450 idea, but I don't know if he's going to do that. These 5 chasadim near mazim b'chamesh pesukim de lochalon. So we're going to say these 5 chasadim. They're going to have 5 pesukim that are come to. That should be kulam kasev tevis chayim. Now, where did he get the word chayim from? So he says there were 5 different types of waters. And he says, we know this from the fact that these 5 pesukim, we know that it's touched onto this. I guess that's the concept that they're coming in to zer anpin. That's really, he's talking about Bereshis, and really powerful stuff over there. And he says is that this is what's pouring out, and it's going to be seen in 5 pesukim. The fish chasadim chasadim elu nimshachem bebechinas mochim, because these chasadim, they're flowing down the bechinas mochin, to the aspect of mochim, anoisnim chayim, which bring life, el zeranpin, besod chayim melech, which is the concept of the life of the king. I'm not sure what that meant, besod chayim hamelech, but okay. So I guess zeranpin is the king. And he put this living water on. Who sod hachesed arishon mechamesh chasadim. So it says mayim chayim. That's the first one. Shemis pasha besok sfiras hachesed. U'kadnir b'tevis mayim shuhu b'chinas chesed. Then the amber pasuk sheni, and it says the second pasuk, hu Elokim chayim melech olam, because he's the living God. He's the king of the universe. For who sod, or the king of hiddenness. For who sod hachesed hasheni. So this is the secret of the second chesed, shemispashet b'soch spheres hagavura, which is really spreads into the sphere of gavura. So let's say that's where we go. Let's look at the third pasuk. It's chalek nefech Hashem ba'artzes hachayim. Here's the word chayim again. I'm going to go to the land. For who say the hachesed? So excuse me, the hachesed shlishi shemispashet b'soch spheres teferes. So he says, "Is chalek lifnei Hashem ba'artzos hachayim." Okay, nirmaz b'tevis artzos. Why? Shehu sod hanukva hanikras eretz, which is the secret of the nukva, which is called the eretz. But the kilas and makom, but also who but the ferish is their anpin. Okay, so that's a little bit like a curveball over there. So the curveball is that even though that's let's say eretz means malchus, but we're talking about the position of malchus in relationship to Tiferes. So she is at the Tiferes, that's her starting point. So I guess that's how he touches on to Tiferes. Then the Amber Pasuk Ravi, here's the fourth pasuk. V'hoiser b'nefesh adoni tzura b'tzura chayim. I said, bound up with the binding of life. V'hu sod ha'chesed Ravi. So this is the sod of the fourth chesed. Shemis pashet b'soch spheres and netzach, which spreads into the sphere of netzach. So that the binding of life, life, shuhu b'chinas netzach. That's the concept of netzach. Why? V'ne'emar ve'etz ha'chayim b'soch hagan. Excuse me, I said this wrong. I didn't really get an explanation why binding has to do with netzach, but let's go on. V'ne'emar ve'etz ha'chayim b'soch hagan. That's the fifth one. So he said, "Who sod ha'chesed ha'chamisha shemispashet b'soch ha'sfiras ha'chod." Ukanirmas b'tevis eitz chaim. We see that for word the eitz chaim sheromez lahod. So he said those things. I didn't get all the understandings of all of the. I don't have it how it is that they touch on. So anyway, ki eidoch ha'chamesh chasadim. They have 5 different names. So these are the 5 chasadim, that we see in these 5 pesukim, and these are the names. The first one is Yak, Heim Beis Shemos, which refers to 2 different names, Shechasadim, the Chesed, the Gevura. So Yak means male and female. That would be in there would be them. Then you see them in a Milui, Yud Vav Daled Kei Aleph, Heim Beis Shemos. This is also 2 names, Shel Chasadim de Tiferes and Netzach. Okay, and then you have this last one, which I'm not sure that I follow. It's Aleph K Yud Yud Hu Shem Shel Chesed the Hod. That's the name of the Chesed of Hod. So all of these different things that he's telling us here are possible tools that could be used, but I wouldn't know how to use them to affect prayer. He's saying that if you use or have these kavanos in mind, whether or not I understand them or not, is, again, let's look at Yak. This is 2 names, right? So he says they represent right and left. When you see it in the Milui form, you see that that is right and left, which is Chesed the Gevur. When you see it in the Milui form, it refers to the next 2 on the line, which are Tiferes and Netzach. And when you see this combination, which is the one it's a number, let's see, it's a number 626, which is the gematria of Havaya. Hu Shem Shel Chesed the Hod. Okay, I don't have the answer on that one. Let's go on. The pasuk goes on and it says like this: V'hi Mavdil. There's Abdullah. bein mayim lamayim. So what are we talking about? This different, that wine, light, the water that's up above the rakia, the tibur, the Erik Anpin, going back and explaining that we're talking about the place of the tibur of Erik Anpin. The bein mayim atachton shalamata v'chatibur asher b'makom b'bida zer anpin. That's where zer anpin is located. V'amr mayim shleimim, and he says a complete mayim. Mayim delo shleimim. And so you remember when you had Bereshis bara, he almost used the same words. They are the same words. So he says you have what? Mayim shleimim, complete water, and then you have incomplete water. Shemayim al yonim, hey mayim shleimim. So but he turns it the other direction. Not the way that he did the last time in Bereshis bara. Here he says that the mayim al yonim is the one that's shloim. Ve'elo v'am atachtonim hey mayim she'einu shleimim. Rachamim shleimim, rachamim delo shleimim. So we're explaining. You have rachmanis, which is a complete and total rachmanis, and another rachmanis, which is not complete and total. Kimayim shleimim, hainda rachamim shleimim. This is an ultimate mercy. Shall Erik Anpin. Velo mayim she'eim shleimim, hainda rachamim she'ein shleimim. There's racham that's not shleim. Shall Zer Anpin. But Inyan, who the Inyan is like this, ki rachamim she'einu shleimim, the rachamim which is not complete. Hainda kugon rachamim ala adam kodem sheyechet. That is the rachamim. Now let's say this is the rachamim on a person before he sins. Shemaracham elav kebir shagala v'yeducha l'fanda she'asid lachta. So the knowing that the man who has not sinned is going to. He says this is called what? Rachamim she'einu shleimim. They the rachamim shleimim was so there. Where do you get that? So in other words, the man hasn't done anything wrong, but on the other hand, it's coming. That's a half of rachamim. Behind the rachamim shal adam gam achashuk v'achata b'poel. When that person actually mamish sinned, that's considered complete and total rachamim. It's an interesting idea. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you very much for learning with me.